Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Collective Mayhem. My name's Mr. Paul Mayhem, and I'm going to talk a little bit about some of my thoughts on Steam's refund policy in the days since it was announced. But in case you missed this news, about a week and a bit ago, Steam announced that they were introducing a policy whereby you can get a refund for nearly any product bought on the service, including all games as long as they were actually purchased through Steam, not Indie Gala, Humble Bundle, etc. Most DLC, unless it has a permanent effect on the game. Some in-game purchases, basically the Valve ones, TF2, CSGO, etc. and refunds on pre-purchases. Policy generally allows refunds within 14 days of purchase and with less than 2 hours playtime. When it comes to pre-purchases, you can get a refund any time until the game's release and then 14 days afterwards. And all of this, I think, is extremely reasonable, and to be perfectly honest, it's more than I expected from a refund policy from Valve, considering they never haven't had one at all in the old days. I mean, you just had to kind of beg customer services, and sometimes maybe you'd get one, maybe you wouldn't. Anyway, so I'm to say that, as well as the obvious, at fucking last, like really, I feel that it's one of the most positive things Valve has done in a very long time for a number of reasons, including the fact that people might actually be more likely to take a risk on something they wouldn't usually try because they know they can get their money back if it's not for them. And this might help to rid Steam of quick cash grabbing, asset flipped quote unquote games. You know the type I mean by this. If you watch Jim Sterling, you will anyway. I mean, the utterly shameless devs of this kind of crap might think twice about trying to pull this kind of this type of stunt if they know 99% of people who buy it will refund it straight away as soon as they realise it's actually a steaming pile of monkey jizz. Moving on, I mean, I can see the concerns of devs who make shorter games that could be completed in less than the 2 hour limit. The thing there is that I've bought and enjoyed a number of very short games. I could mention a few, including Bastion, Transistor, Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons, and others I can't really think of right now. But all of them being very short experiences that could probably easily be finished within the 2 hour limit, but I found them such a satisfying experience that I was never even considering having them refunded. So all of them left me with the feeling that I would most certainly be playing through them again before too long. Just as when you see a good film, even though it may be a very short experience, you wouldn't usually want a refund if you enjoyed the film, and you most likely want to watch it again, many times. But if someone does finish a game in less than the refund time limit and doesn't feel satisfied with their purchase, then in reality they should get a refund if they want one, just as you would maybe expect a refund if you weren't satisfied with your food at a restaurant. Or maybe if you didn't enjoy the movie, you may demand a refund from the manager. But anyway, generally, in like when you buy a product and you're not satisfied with it, you are entitled to a refund on what you bought. Why should it be any different for games? Anyway, well, I've heard some people saying the policy may end up having some impact on AAA developers. I mean, I definitely agree there, but not for the reason I heard quoted. From some developer who expressed concern for games such as Call of Duty and Battlefield, which both feature fairly short single-player campaigns. The thing is that even these campaigns are 4 to 6 hours in length, so that would go beyond the 2 hour limit imposed by Steam to qualify for a refund. And so they wouldn't be affected in the slightest. I don't know what the guy's talking about. I mean, I feel this is much more likely to impact releases that are broken, buggy and incomplete at launch. Assassin's Creed Unity, anybody? And to be honest, who can argue with that? Who can say that that's a bad thing? I mean, I have no sympathy for anybody who releases broken, unfinished messes of games and expects the public to pay for them. If even, be they cash-grabbing early access asset flippers or the big boys, the likes of Ubisoft, etc. I mean, in fact, refunds could be a good way to force the big boys to take a bit more notice of the PC user base. And if people demand a refund at launch on a game that doesn't work properly, it may make them think a little bit harder about, releasing games that work. People should take a good long look at GTA 5 as an example of how to do a port properly. even if it did take them long enough to make it, I mean, a year longer than the last gen consoles, and still a good while after the next gen finally got their releases, was well worth waiting for. It was a very, very good port. But anyway, I digress. So, moving on to address some of the other concerns I've seen coming up. Some people claim that this policy makes piracy easier, as people can download, copy off the game files, and then get a refund. But I think this is only very marginal, because, like, believe me, in reality, this is insignificant in the world of piracy. Fully working pirate versions of pretty much everything on Steam, early access, full release alike, can be found and downloaded within minutes if you know where to look. It only takes one person to buy the game for it to be cracked and distributed around the internet. I mean, refunds honestly don't impact this at all, or by a very negligible amount if they do. I mean, anyway, I think I'll say that with a little bit of human oversight, this seems like it will be very positive for Steam and very positive for most of the honest, hard-working developers that distribute their games through the service. It's obviously a real triumph for PC gamers and for the indie devs, who will maybe see more people likely to take a risk and give their game a try now that they know they can get a refund if it's not for them. The only people who stand to lose out from this are shameless asset-ripping so-called developers who won't be able to get away with reselling entire asset packs as quote-unquote games any longer. No longer will unscrupulous scumbags with a copy of Unity and a bunch of asset packs downloaded from Pirate Bay be able to get away with ripping people off with little to no recourse available to those who fell for it. And I have precisely zero sympathy with you people. These so-called developers, I mean, not the people who fell for their shitty games. I have all the sympathy in the world with them, and they can actually get a refund now. Anyway, but I have precisely zero sympathy with anybody who releases buggy, broken, non-working things and expects people to pay for them. I mean, did these asset grabbers really think they could get away with it forever anyway? Anyway, this has been Mr. Paul Mayhem with some of my thoughts on Steam refunds policy, addressing some of the issues I've seen brought up. And don't forget, if you liked this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us out. And check out our channel for more gaming and tech videos presently, I suppose. Paul Mayhem out.